Hello and welcome to the Allo.Capital podcast. If you're just joining us, this season we are summoning Allo.Capital, a new spinout from Gitcoin that is designed to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. We think there's big upside here. Capital allocation is a $1 trillion design space. VCs, governments, NGOs, DAOs all have to allocate capital to solve their problems. But it's also a place where we can start small. Every time you spend money, you are allocating capital. We are threading a through line partnering with builders, mechanism designers, researchers, and funders to figure out what on-chain, post-AI, post-New World Order capital allocation will look like and building it on-chain on Ethereum. If you want to learn more, you can visit our website at Allo.Capital, where you can download the Allo books for free, play with some of our dApps, join the Telegram, or participate in the DAO. All right. Today, I have a special episode for you. This is a episode in which we're going to play a recording of the first meeting of the Allominati, which is a playful way of talking about the community of builders, mechanism designers, and patron NFT holders that have assembled around Allo.Capital. On this episode, we are going to show off some of the things that we've been cooking at Allo.Capital, basically an update from me on where I've been spending my time, the data of how Allo.Capital is trending. And then we get into actually using capital allocation mechanisms to cohere the Allo.Capital network. So we've raised 16 ETH from the Allo.Capital patron sale that was announced at ETHdenver. We are going to be putting that money, why can't I speak today? That money behind a series of capital allocation mechanisms that are going to support the coherence and relationality of the Allo.Capital community and to help them go on research raids and to work together in order to help each other in exploring the design space of on-chain capital allocation. And the people that are building ventures in this space, I think, can really benefit from access to the Allo network through the structures that we've set up. So without further ado, I'm going to play the recording. The next voice you hear will be me facilitating the call of the Allominati. Enjoy. Okay. All right, so I've put an agenda together that I have pinned in the chat. The goal today is to convene the Allominati, so to create coherence around what we're doing here at Allo.Capital. I'm thinking that we will spend 10 minutes on my stuff, and then we'll go into the ProtoDAO coordination experiments, and then we'll do AMA and discussion from there. So any questions about that agenda, let me know. And if not, I will go right into it. All right, so some table setting. What are we doing here? Allo.Capital is a spin out that we've pulled some IP out of Gitcoin and have formed a new company and ProtoDAO around it that is shooting for building the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. We basically think that this is going to be a really huge thing over the next 10 years. We're going to see 10x or 100x more assets tokenized, and that there's going to be an opportunity to help those communities and ecosystems allocate capital against whatever their shared needs are, and that we are going to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet by helping them solve their problems, allocate tokens to their biggest problems. And this is explicitly not just public goods anymore. We're going to be working on shared needs from impact in public goods, but also private goods and profit allocation. So basically, we've got 2 years to figure out how we want to do this and how we're going to do this. That's the amount of capital that we've been able to pull out of Gitcoin and raise in the ProtoDAO summoning. And on that time horizon, I'm hopeful that we're going to figure out a way to increase the amount of flow going through the Allo network, which I'll get into in a second here. But before I do that, the thing that I want to provide a warning to in sort of a little bit of table setting here is that we're early. This is the frontier. Allo ProtoDAO is very much in a primordial soup phase. We're still figuring out exactly what this is, how we coordinate with each other, and we're still orienting towards our North Star. And I'm purposefully sharing a lot of this stuff before it's fully baked with a lot of you because I want to invite you along on the journey. I want you all to have a first row seat on everything that is being built here. But please don't expect that everything is totally put together. If this was a town on the western frontier, I think that there would be a couple buildings that have been completely created, but a lot of things are under construction, and we're still figuring out exactly the parameters of everything. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to take us through from here, and then I will break and hand it off to our amazing ProtoDAO coordination experiments. The first thing I want to talk about is a data update. We've defined a KPI of TVF, total value flowed within the Allo network, to be a key performance indicator of what the Allo network is doing. I'm not saying the key performance indicator, because I think there's going to be other metrics that matter, and also total value flowed would be totally gameable if we were to like imbue it as the one metric within the network. But basically, total value flowed is the amount of money that have gone through Allo protocol and things associated with Allo. So if you click over to this Dune dashboard, which Umar made, thank you so much, Umar, for doing that. You can see that $15.8 million has flowed through what we are defining as the Allo network right now. And you can see breakdowns by token and by blockchain. And I think Umar is going to add a graph so that you can see how it flows over time. But yeah, Umar says in the chat, that's V1 and more to come. And if you click into this sheet right here, you can see all of the different contracts on all of the different blockchains that are out there that we define as the Allo network right now. So basically, the way this is architected is such that if there's ETH or ERC20 transfers in and out of these contracts, that is counted as total value flowed for the network. And the initial set of contracts that we've put in there are the initial Gitcoin contracts that are built on Allo protocol. And you might be asking, how do we define the Allo network? How do we define what contracts constitute value flowed within the Allo network? Right now, this data dashboard is defined as things that are Allo protocol, which was the IP that we generated at Gitcoin around capital allocation. But I think that there's an open conversation about defining this in another way, such that anyone built within this network that has some sort of coherence in relation to Allo's thesis, I think we could include as part of this total value flowed calculation. So the data dashboard is already built to support us extending the definition of the Allo network outwards into other capital allocation mechanisms. And I'm looking forward to the conversation over the next couple months about how do we define this Allo network and how do we define how value is flowing through it. Okay, so that is the data update. I'm going to move into the SS&S, which is the start shipping and see. This is basically a document that we've put together in order to organize the work that myself and some of the people at Allo.Capital are working on. And basically, the things that we're focused on right now are around these four directives. So basically, one of the ways that I think about this is sort of like a telescope that's focusing energy. We're studying the design space and we're studying people's needs out there and trying to cohere the energy towards creating more heat in this design space. And so the most immediate directive or lens that's focusing energy is on BD and sales. We are trying to find people who will pay Allo.Capital to solve their capital allocation problems. So basically trying to help projects that are L1s and L2s and DeFi protocols to cohere their ecosystem using things like quadratic funding, retro funding, direct impact incentives, all different types of capital allocation. And so I think that we really want to help solve these problems in the ecosystem, and while doing so, increase the total value flowed through the Allo.Capital ecosystem from there. This is primarily a services organization thus far, but there is a goal eventually to cohere around a product that solves all different types of capital allocation problems. Right now, we're calling that Allo.It, and Allo.It is very much wet clay. We are going to be unveiling more information about Allo.It and figuring out exactly what it looks like at the same time. And I expect that an upcoming Allominati call will be talking a lot about the path from services, well, actually getting services in the door. And then once we have those services in the door, turning that into a product. And that's the second level of coherence that we have in the SS&S. The third category of coherence is category creation and messaging. So basically, this idea that capital allocation is going to be a huge design space I think that I have conviction in it. I see the a priori reason why it's going to be true, because I know that there's going to be a ton more tokenized assets in the next 10 or 15 years. And I just know that those assets are going to want to be allocated towards solving the problems that people in those communities have. But I think that we need to do the task of defining that category for the rest of the world, educating the market, and owning the narrative. And so the things that you've seen out of me over the last couple quarters into the last year is the publishing of books about on-chain capital allocation, the creation of a YouTube channel in which we're actually going through and we're interviewing leaders in the design space about on-chain capital allocation, educating the market, owning the narrative, and defining the category. That's what the coherence around this third lens is of category creation and messaging. And then the fourth is the Allominati. That's the group that we're cohering today, or I guess attempting to cohere today. We are mindful that the goal of where we're going is so big, building the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet, and there's no way that a centralized company or a centralized group of people is going to be able to do it. And I want to create an omni-win Schelling point for the community in which we all help each other. We have a positive sum game that's being played between this group, where we're sharing leads and deals in marketing and cohering our understanding about the capital allocation in an on-chain and AI-driven world in the design space. And I think that the Allominati is sort of like, if you think of these as lenses, I think BD is the most focused that we're doing right now. And then the Allominati is the most wide. We're casting a wide net and finding the other sort of like divergent and interesting personalities that are thinking about things like on-chain capital allocation and trying to connect those people to each other. And a goal of mine is that you all are gaining value by participating in Allo and receiving value from the network. And I think that that's what we're going to talk about a lot with the mechanisms in the second half of the call here. So that's what we've been up to. There's one last thing that I want to talk about before I break from my little monologue. And that's that I want to spotlight what could potentially be a client account for Allo.Capital and an area where we can swarm and provide value to the world in the coming months. Gitcoin is going through some big changes right now. Putting on my Gitcoin steward hat, just decided to wind down Grants Lab, which was the primary software development unit within the Gitcoin ecosystem. And this is obviously very hard because we have to say goodbye to a lot of really great friends and people that we love and care for a lot, and help them find the next eras of their career. But in its place, we need to figure out what to do about the Gitcoin grants program. GG24 is coming up late summer and early fall. And there's an open question about how do we run GG24? And I'm really excited about going from a relationship where Grants Lab had a monopoly on the deployment of the $1 million program that Gitcoin gives out to a place where there's a pluralistic carnival capital allocation in which we're solving Ethereum's biggest problems. And the people in the Allo.Capital network and in the Gitcoin network are coming to help shoulder that burden of allocating capital to those biggest problems, but in so getting distribution for their capital allocation mechanisms through Gitcoin grants. Gitcoin has $22 million left. That's a lot of fucking money to do a lot of fucking good in the world. And I think there's an opportunity for this network to show up and to help Gitcoin allocate capital in 2025 native ways. So on-chain, AI-driven for the world that we have now. And the old Gitcoin was just about quadratic funding. The new Gitcoin can be a pluralistic design space in which we explore how to fund what matters in the 21st century. And I think that it's going to be a great place to show off a lot of the work that the Allo.Capital network is generating. So that's my little monologue about what we've been up to. Next I want to go into the ProtoDAO coordination experiments, which is how we're going to put wood behind the arrow of some of the stuff that we're doing. But before I do, I just wanted to tag my co-founder, Rena, and just say, hey, Rena, how's it going? Is there anything I missed? Anything that you would correct of things that I said? And then we'll go back to the community from there.
No, thanks, Owocki. You nailed it.
Okay, thanks. Will, do you want to step in and tell us about your ProtoDAO coordination experiment?
I'm going to share screen, step you through it real fast here. So basically, there's a very simple protocol here that we've been playing with on Network. There's a pool here for Allominati. The basic concept is, I'm going to click on it here. that there's going to be assets in this pool that we're going to add. So these are what we call vouchers on the system. You can create them here. This is a token deployer. So you can create a ERC20 token that is a promise for some goods and services that you offer. So if I click on that one, I can look at what are the goods and services I offer. So this one GRE is worth $1 of products. So think of this as like a gift card that's redeemable for dollars of different stuff we do in Kenya. We have some software development that we do and various stuff. So it's quite easy to create these. It's like creating a gift card. It mints a token for you. Feel free to play around with that, ask questions about it. We'll have a little Telegram group. And then once you've done that, your token can be added to the Allominati pool and given a credit line in that pool. And so like we did this a little bit earlier, Kevin gave me a credit line of $1,000 as Grassroots Economics, which means that I can swap in. First of all, I deposited into the pool. I used my Web3 wallet and I added GRE tokens into the pool. I could add Cello dollars as well into the pool. People can support the pool with credit cards as well. They can, this is through NormiTech, so that goes directly into CUSD. And so the basic idea is if you make a token or you already have one, it can be considered for being added a credit level into this pool. There'll be a bunch of them in here, and then you can swap. So for instance, if I have some Cello dollars right now, I can select Cello dollars here, right? I can select $1 and I can swap that out for $1 worth of Grassroots Economics tokens. If I do that swap, I'm going to add a Cello dollar into the pool and I'm going to remove some GRE tokens from that. So in effect, I kind of bought from the pool. I put in my dollars and I pulled out some GRE tokens. And there's going to be a few, it's like 3 different contracts are being touched here. So there's a few MetaMask confirmations that'll happen. And so that'll approve and you will see that the amount here has gone down. So I've swapped. If I refresh that now, I should see, yeah, there's $1 in the pool and there's less GRE tokens in the pool. And so eventually there'll be more and more. If we look at some other larger pools, we can look at like Refi Sicilia, for instance, or even let's look at land regenerators. And just to understand the basis for this protocol, like in this pool, there was $10,000. That was actually from a Gitcoin fund. We've set limits. So this is a pool that I'm managing. So I can approve vouchers. And the other pool, that's Kevin. He can set that to a DAO to own it. He can give ownership to any kind of contract he wants. But initially, it's just whoever deployed it. So I can approve of a new token. It could be any ERC20 token, right? I can put the voucher address. That could be any ERC20 token in there. You give it a credit line. Think of this as a very simple form of like a Rosca, where, I mean, in the village I live in here, basically you have a pool of assets that you can borrow from in the community, right? And so having a credit line here means I can put in my own assets, which are my collateral, which would be my tokens, and I can pull out any other asset in here. Right. And then I would send those to the party. So if you pull out our GRE tokens, you would have them in your wallet. They will show up in MetaMask even. And then you would simply send those to me like you were sending me a gift card. And that would be dollars off whatever service that I'm offering. So if it's programming time, like we have a programming pool in here as well, that can be there as well. We've got all kinds of different groups creating pools around the world. And I think let me end there with just saying that like this, the mechanism for coordination in this is a very simple protocol of curating what's valuable. It's giving those things relative value. In this case, we're using the dollar as the relative valuation of them. They can be 1-to-1, makes it very simple. Then it's putting limits on those, right? There's a limit on reciprocity, how much credit you get in that pool. And then there's an exchange function. Right, it's a very, very, very simple protocol. It's kind of a protocol in terms of value exchange and coordination system. So it's something that we could potentially all create tokens, right, that say what kind of services we have to offer. We can share those tokens on the Telegram channel. And then the Allominati can make a decision on which tokens to add into the pool and come up with some governance techniques around that. Like typically, like in a village savings and loan program, you would end up with a credit limit based on something like 2 or 3 times what you put into the pool, right? So if like Louise puts $500 worth of his services into the pool, you're available for $500 worth of work, you would define that on your voucher. You would say what the products are. That would mean that you can pull out $1,500 worth of other services in the pool, right? By adding more of your commitments to the pool in the process as collateral. Yeah. I think I'm ending early.
Thanks, Will. Just to recap, the reason that we're here is to explore the design space of on-chain capital allocation and provide value to each other. We've raised 16 ETH through the ProtoDAO capital raise, and now we are going to be taking that money and putting it into various capital allocation mechanisms that helps the group cohere around working together. Commitment pooling is one of the experiments that we've accepted, and Seraphu.network is the tool that's going to be hosting that capital and that commitment pool. And so commitment pools are just basically a way where I can go and offer my goods and services, and people can pull my goods and services out of the pool and redeem them. And so if you want to engage with others in the Allo.Capital ecosystem, provide value to them, the first step is to go to Seraphu.network onto the link that is the Allominati, and then to add your tokens to the pool, and then you'll be able to pull out tokens that are redeemable for goods and services from others. Did I just recap that correctly, Will?
They're going to go to the website and they're going to create their own voucher, and then they're going to tell us about that voucher on the Telegram channel, and then you're going to add that to the pool.
Yeah.
They can add themselves to the pool, in other words. Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this. I did a commitment pooling experiment a few weeks ago with a group of people that and it really helped us cohere. It helped increase our relationality. It helped us discover hidden talents that we didn't know that each other had. And so I'm excited to experiment with it here. And Will, very thankful to you for your DAO design proposal, and then also for Seraphu coordinating it. And would love it if people gave it a shot, because I think that there's a lot of opportunity to increase our relationality in the way that we work together by doing this. We have 4 more minutes for questions. People want to come off mute and ask them, you're welcome to. I'm also collecting questions in the Slido over here, and so feel free to ask questions in the Slido.
Quick question. Thanks for the presentation. So yeah, I was a part of the pilot that Kevin ran a few weeks ago, and I really loved the mechanism in action, and it was really helpful for us to do just these like basic in-person things. It like unlocked this latent supply of talent that people had that otherwise would have just been dormant, you know? So, but I'm curious in the virtual context, because we did this in person, like how, you know, what you see being good examples of vouchers to put into the pool. Is it like my time? Is it, you know, anything physical or more specific than people's time?
Yeah, good question. And also in terms of that mixing that you did there, like I think that's going to be super necessary for us to have kind of like either a monthly meetup where we're just like, what's up? And so the idea in the village here and in cities where we go and you just say, well, what are the assets available? So generally what we're doing is saying like when you make a $1 Ori token, right? It's worth $1 of your services, and you can list whatever products you have available there under it. Right. You could also make multiple tokens as well. But for now, I would just say make $1 worth $1 of Ori products, and you'll define those products. And you can create as many, you know, it's up to you. You own that token. You can mint as many as you want. Right. And then in the pool, we'll say, okay, but the limit for you to swap those into the pool will be, you know, $500,000, you know, to start with. Right. And so whatever you have there, I think that's a good start. And then I think, you know, like folks like Scott Morris, for instance, like, you know, like in terms of us playing with that, all those assets that we have and putting them into use, that's going to be the fun part. And I think just initially it's just resource mapping is what we're doing, you know. So.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really simple to decouple the tokenization of just like a unit from the actual service so that it's fungible.
Yeah, it's your gift card. It's $1 worth of your services, and you get to define what those are. But it might be that like Scott or Carl needs something specific, and you're like, oh yeah, I could do that too, right?
There's a question in the chat from Nate that I'm curious about how this mechanism can fail. What problems are you still trying to solve with it?
I mean, let's say that there's some capital that gets put in the pool or vouchers, and Ori, for instance, we've got a bunch of his assets in the pool now, and now he's not accepting them back anymore, you know, for whatever reason. So one thing that we do often is like that we put fees on the pool. right? So you could have a percent fee on the pool, and that goes into an insurance fund to deal with, defaults. So defaults are generally kind of the worst thing in the system. The whole thing around, think of this as like a vending machine where you can have, Doritos and Oreos and whatever. In this case, you can swap in any direction in that. You're just trying to make sure that, like, if the Oreos actually are the thing that went bad in the system, all these things can also still swap. And so it's nice to have an insurance pool around that, and building up that insurance fund like taking the first loss, for instance, is really important to think about. And that's also, in terms of the money that's going into the pool, like let's say there's, thousands of dollars of CUSD or some stable coin going in there. Ideally, that there's enough left in reserve such to deal with various losses in the pool. And starting small is usually the right answer. Like in most lending operations, you start small, you build credit over time, your credit limits go up over time. Yeah.
I got to pull us back into the main agenda so that we get into the other coordination mechanisms. If there's demand, I'd encourage you all to do a separate session with Will in which we really get deep on commitment pooling and how to use it. And I think we'll be revisiting this in future Allominati calls. Thank you, Will. Koi, do you want to come off mute and tell us about what you've put together? I can give you 10 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Coin. I'm from Greenfield, Brazil, and the Dev Guild. And now I'm also very involved. Hey, Will. Hey, everyone. Nice to have some familiar faces here. And also very involved in Allo.Capital now. I made a proposal for using the cookie jar contract that Kevin shared some time ago, research purpose. It is a simple tool. And research is something, an activity that requires a kind of method and things like that. So it is a kind of challenge to balance these two things. So what I try to do, I try to see the cookie jar as a container of funds and data. I try to bring some aspects and tools that could be already synergy points between different tooling we already have available. So I'm going to present my screen now, and I'm going to present to you the Allo Research Guide. Is the proposal I'm working on. So we will not have a demo right now because we were trying to set up all the settings. But this is what I'm going to present the timeline for you guys, and we can also discuss. So let me start this. Welcome, explorers. Today, a portal opens. A portal into the unknown, into the uncharted territories of capital allocation, coordination, and intelligence. We are not here just to discuss. We are here to launch an expedition, a research guide, and invite you to the first step with us. Every explorer needs the right gear, so we will have this set of items to help us in the process. So first, your trust, our reputation shield, protect our access, and also different kinds of resources. And then we have our research plate, who will cut through the unknown, right? The cookie jar holds our loot, and our battle maps, our expedition maps, they will be our weekly notes that will be updating us on the progress. The survival guides, they are all the resources we already have, Allo Forum, Allo Books, and past researches. And the battle whistle, this would be a community signaling and routing tool. For now, we decided to use Slido, but I was also considering to use guidance to do that, which I'm also very involved in. So this is the ride rulebook. So first, we're going to choose the tracks and submit the research on the forum, on the Allo forum. Then we will rally with our allies to get support on Slido. And when the time period ends, we will select the researchers and list them on the cookie jar. Then they will explore and report, posting weekly loot notes, and they will be able to claim their loot. And then after 6 weeks, we will gather all discoveries and map. This is the loot system that everyone who joins, each explorers who joins, like we will have 7 explorers who will be chosen. and each explorer who joins can claim up to 0.08 ETH per week. We will have a 6 weeks of expedition before the portal closes. And the final step after this week is XP reckoning through, I put hypercerts here, but I think just NFT for now would be what we can already start. But we are planning to also extend this to hypercert contributions in a way that we could have fractions of intellectual property being shared, right? This is also a way to think about. So we're gonna, this is, I don't know why the image is not showing up here. But yeah, the cookie jar is a contract, a contract that we are seeing as a container of funds and data. And they will have the cookie notes that will unlock the loot. And that is where they gonna, the explorers will reference their progress on the proposal. And then they can claim the ETH that is stored there. So let's get started. The quest is to choose the mission, submit the research, then brave the unknown, venture into the exploration tracks, claim the loot, and leave behind the man. These are the tracks I'm thinking of. So I think it would be nice to have a way to rank them, and also from a discussion we were having on the research forum, we were discussing about how different tracks has different approaches on the research side, and how like we have different efforts involved too. Like there is also knowledge electoral capital that is being building, that people build for a lot of time in their life. So we need to have some differences. And I think a good way to do that would be a community ranking. So what I'm proposing is to do a Slido for that. So I want to invite you all. Let me just add here. I will start the interaction. So here you can join the Slido, and you what I'm proposing is that everyone can rank their tracks in the way they want. They can rank all the tracks, and I want to let this open for at least 6 or 7 days and make that kind of an outreach for people from Allominati group to also participate. And after this period, we will have the period of the proposals, where the proposals should be just a reply on the forum thread, where I'm going to post a new thread giving all the steps for that. And just replying to the forum with the details and the templates I will provide. And then we will do the Slido in May 14 and 17. And in May 18, we want to start the expedition. So we will use an NFT for now, because I think the contract already accepts the ERC 7021. And that's it. Thank you.
Let's open it up for questions. If anyone has questions for Koi, and then in 2 minutes, we'll go to Paul to talk about conviction voting. All right. Thanks, Koi. So the call to action right now is to join the Slido, and then we'll see what comes out of the Slido, and then you'll post in the Telegram in about a week to let people know next steps. Is that right?
The call to action is to do the ranking on the Allo tracks research, and stay tuned on the research forum, because I will share more information there.
Okay. All right, Paul, you're up.
I'm going to share my screen. I'm Paul from Gardens. I'm going to share the Allo.Capital Builders Fund. So most of my time is going to go to the individual proposals in here, but I'll give a super quick rundown of what the Allo.Capital Builders Fund is. So this is a funding pool on Gardens in the Gitcoin grants garden, and it's dedicated to supporting builders in the Allo ecosystem and growing this interoperable network of capital allocation, capital formation, and decision-making infrastructure. So in the pool, right now there's $9,000 in this funding pool. That's been sponsored by OneHive. There's an additional $4,000 that's going to be coming from Gitcoin when the matching goes out. But in this pool, you can create a proposal, and this is for milestone-based funding. And so pick a milestone pick the deliverables for your project and a timeline, and then you can request the amount of funding that will help you reach that milestone. The funding is delivered half up front and then half on delivery. The more funding that you ask for, the more conviction that your proposal needs to pass. And so everyone who holds a Allo patron NFT can join this community and can vote on these proposals. And so to join the community, you go to the Gitcoin Grants Garden. I can share this link. And then you just need 1 GTC to join. You'll join here. You can increase your stake in the community. That will affect voting weight in other pools, but in the Allo.Capital pools, we're using fixed voting weight. So everyone who has the NFT has the same voting weight. So for this pool's sake, there's no benefit to increasing your stake. But then you can go into the pool. You can activate your governance here, and then that will let you manage support. That'll show you your voting weight in the pool. You can update your support. You can support any number of proposals with any amount of your voting weight, and then you can submit your support here. And then it's conviction based, so your support grows in conviction over time. And so you can see on these different proposals the threshold needed to pass, the amount of support that they currently have, and then the conviction that they have, which is slowly growing to meet that support. So we actually have kind of a lot of proposals here. So I'm going to enforce the time for these. So we'll just have like probably 1 minute each for everyone. But I think we have a lot of proposals that joined us and can share a little bit about their project. And we can just start with Devouch. Devouch, are you guys, Mitch or Anna, are you guys available to share?
Yeah, sure. Tell me what I need to do, Paul.
Yeah, just give us a 1 minute overview of your proposal and the milestones and what you guys are building. I'm going to set a timer so you'll hear a ding at 1 minute.
Okay, cool. I gotta get this thing. Remember, make sure I don't. Cool. So Devouch, we built this a couple of years ago, and this is reputation infrastructure for people to vouch for or flag projects that are looking for funding in the ecosystem. This is currently using the Gitcoin Allo registry. So if you go on the app devouch.xyz, you'll see actually all of the Gitcoin grants listed on, I think, on V2 for Allo. And it's really simple. You can go in there and you can vouch for projects that you think are trustworthy. And you can also flag projects that you think maybe aren't so trustworthy or maybe they're a scam. I don't know. And then the cool thing we do is we can actually organize those vouchers and flags by basically the reputation of the person who issued it. So, for example, if you hold a Gitcoin passport or maybe a human passport, now I don't know what they call them. If you are an Optimism super delegate, if you're an Optimism badge holder, we can sort all of those vouchers or flags out based on like your inherent reputation, which is all looking at the attestation data on the Ethereum attestation service. So we're looking for funding in this proposal to integrate Gardens, because Gardens is also running on Allo, into this so people can vouch and flag for communities and Gardens, and also finish our custom resolver contract. Is that time or am I over or under? I don't know.
Yeah. Could you hear the timer beep go off? It went off like 5 seconds ago.
Well, I'm good. Look at that.
Nice. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. All right, next we have Refi DAO. I think Louise or Monty.
I'm here.
Hey, Monty.
Cool. I'll be rapid quick. I can share my screen or I could not. But no worries either way. Basically, we've been pioneering this impact QF model, combining kind of impact evaluation with quadratic funding. Essentially, we worked with Karma Gap. Yeah, let me share my screen. So we just ran the Regen Coordination Global funding round with 96K matching pool, 50 awesome projects in there from across Refi DAO, Green Pill, Bloom Network, and the wider kind of Regen ecosystem on Web3. Previously to that, we've been doing a lot of work with Karma Gap and research into what's called the common approach or the common impact data standard. And essentially, we've got our community onboarded onto Karma Gap, and we've developed a specific process for mapping activities and outputs, essentially. So I'm trying to find an example here for Refi DAO. But essentially, instead of before, you just kind of read a project's application, and it's quite difficult to actually get a sense of what have they actually delivered and what are the core metrics. Okay, they've run an event, but how many people attended? Where's the proof? And so essentially the Common Impact Data Standard structures it in a certain way that you can actually then seek to prove outcomes and impact rather than just make, sort of visionary aspirational claims. And so then what we've done is we've gone through quite an intense process of scraping all of that data and collecting it. And then with that, what we've managed to do is use some of the latest AI models to generate these really rich, detailed reports. So again, instead of a retro round, you just go back and you go, oh, I received this score randomly from a bunch of people and I have no idea why. The AI really fleshes out according to this rubric that we've developed, like why they've scored like that and gives them direct pointers for how to improve their impact reporting. And then, we've compiled that all into a spreadsheet, a pretty intense spreadsheet, testing it against different AI models. And we will then feed those scores into a special quadratic funding formula that actually weights the funding that is received according to their impact scores. And so this was been developed by Gainforest, but we're kind of forking the methodology and doing our own approach on it. So still much to be done, but the idea is that we can then hopefully expand this methodology out to a network of local communities across the globe and kind of blend the benefits of crowdfunding in QF with robust impact reporting and analysis. Pretty excited to share the retrospective from the round.
Amazing. Thanks, Monty. And that's both those first two proposals are 3,000 USD Glow requests.
We will be redeploying our proposal there, so because of various technical reasons. So don't vote on it yet, but please do vote on it once the new one is live.
Yes. Yeah. And anyone else who's thinking of making a proposal, this it must not have been clear enough because everyone made this mistake. But the beneficiary address should be a 2 of 3 signers safe. 1 Gardens member, 1 member of your team, and then the Gitcoin grants Garden Council safe. And that's how we can do the half payout upfront and half payout on delivery. So just make sure you get that safe set up when you create your proposal. So next is the Gardens Discourse integration. Afo, are you on the call?
Just heads up, y'all. 1 more minute, and then we're going to break into AMA. So Afo, you're the last one.
All right. Can you open it up, Paul? Yeah, so let's go to the top. We can just look at the abstract. Yeah, so this proposal is to integrate Discourse into Gardens. Discourse is a tool commonly used amongst many Web3 communities to have proposals, ideas, discussions. And one of the things when you currently create a garden pool, whether it's a funding or signaling pool, you have to manually create all the proposals, and there's not an automated way to just import proposals. So the idea here is to use Discourse as a way to, when you create a pool, import proposals from a certain category, time window, tags, etc., and then already be able to have the community come in and just start showing conviction. So this meant to speed up the process for mainly on the community admin side, being able to set up your gardens, create your pools, and import proposals in a few steps. So this is mostly a proof of concept to start off with, just a simple integration where you put in, for example, the Allo.DAO design contest, for example, and then you'd be able to create a pool centered around that, and people could show conviction. So yeah, that's the idea here. I think that's 30 seconds. That's quick enough.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Afo. And I'm sorry to the other projects. I wish we had more time to go through these other ones, but you can click into them. You can view all the proposal information in there. You can also support them. Also, any member in the community can dispute proposals. So there's a dispute button here. The Gitcoin grants garden rules on disputes of proposals. But yeah, go in there and check them out. And then also we can continue the conversation on the Allominati or the open Allo.Capital chat, so people can share more about their proposals there. But thanks for presenting, guys.
Okay. We got 10 more minutes to do a AMA or to do Q&A. I think the best way to coordinate that is through the Slido. So I just put a link to the Slido, and this is what the current set of questions looks like. I'll give it maybe 30 seconds for people to put in new questions or to upvote questions that they want to hear about, and we can just talk through that through the rest of the time. Maybe I'll start with GG24 while y'all are working on this in another tab. So basically, we're kind of in the in-between moment between GG23 and GG24, and with Grants Lab being wound down, there's a big hole in how GG24 is going to work. And we want to respect the fact that Gitcoin's a DAO and that we're going to need the community's input on what's next. And so my expectation from here is that I'm going to drop my vision for what the next version of Gitcoin looks like. And Matilda, who's the GG program lead, is going to drop her vision on the governance forums this week. And then there's going to be a Twitter Spaces tomorrow, which is Gitcoin's most recent tweet that you can show up to if you want to learn more. TLDR, I think that there's going to be an opportunity to solve Ethereum's biggest problems using capital allocation mechanisms, and that GG will be a place to showcase that. So I think that we're probably going to start with sense making about what Ethereum's biggest problems are and how you can allocate capital to solve them and to upregulate the people that are solving them. And I think that's going to be a process that's going to unfold in the public over the next couple months. And so keep an eye on the Gitcoin Twitter and the Gitcoin governance forums if you want to learn more. As opportunities come for the Allominati and Allo.Capital people to step up and add value, I will highlight those in the Telegram. So that's all I can say at this point. Next question. The DAO design contest created great artifacts that can be curated and shared with the broader Web3 space. Are there plans to continue exploring the proposals? So yeah, happy to have a dialogue with whoever the questioner was here, because I think there's kind of like an open space around this. My general sense, and I'd love to get the rough consensus of the people in the room, is that I want to nail the experiments that we're doing now with cookie jars and commitment pooling and conviction voting. And I'm already sort of overwhelmed by learning 3 new products and 3 new processes. And extending that out to 10 would be too much for my time and attention right now. So my sense is that now is not the right time to explore the rest of the proposals. That said, I appreciate all of the proposals that happened, and I think there's some really good nuggets in there. So I think that my sort of feeling is that for the next 3 months, I really want to nail these 3. And then in 3 months' time, we can see where we're at and sense into where we want to go from there. But I'm open to feedback. So if anyone has any comments on that, please feel free to riff, and maybe I'll give that a minute or two before I move on to the next question.
Yeah, I wrote the question, and I definitely hear what you're saying. Like, I don't want to overwhelm you with more proposals. I guess I'm just curious more on how the people that made the proposals, how we could continue to like kind of come together and still like kind of flesh them out, polish them, continue to work on them in different ways. So not like more stuff on your end, but just more how that could be facilitated within the Allominati. Yeah.
I think that my primary objective right now is to figure out who are the people who are going to pay for on-chain capital allocation, for AI-based capital allocation, and to service their needs. And then to leverage the Allominati ProtoDAO to support that when we can, and to be network first, and to leverage those mechanisms when we find those customers. So I definitely don't start with the ProtoDAO proposals and then work backwards. I'm starting with the customers and working backwards towards the Allominati from there. So, maybe there's some fascia, some connective tissue that will emerge between those things in the future, but I don't have any immediate sort of thoughts on that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. How important is the community OS for Allo.Capital right now? What ways will Allo.Capital continue to engage the Allominati and enable its involvement? Great question. Whoever this is, feel free to come off mute, and I would love to have a dialogue with you over the next minute or two. My sense is that we're kind of figuring it out as we go along. I'm like infinitely curious about this design space, and I think that there's possibly multiple billion-dollar unicorns that are going to be invented in this design space over the next 5 to 10 years. And my primary objective is to find those mechanisms, find those product builders, and to upregulate them and accelerate them as much as I can. And, ideally to get upside in their ventures eventually. I think that one thing Gitcoin didn't do well was having a business model, and that's one thing that I want to correct for this time and not overcorrect. How will we engage the Allominati and enable its involvement? I plan to have these calls monthly. I'm also happy to join breakout calls as people have them and as they support the needs of the Allominati. I would also like to lean into the 3 experiments that we just announced today. Do conviction voting, do commitment pooling, do the cookie jar. And if it doesn't make sense to you or it doesn't work, don't lean out. Tell the person that's working on it, like, hey, I can't figure out X. So I'm leaning into the monthly calls and to my relationship with all of you, and to the coordination mechanisms that we announced right now. And that's what I'm personally doing, but I'm also open to other things emerging and the dialogues that'll happen around those. I don't know if whoever asked this wants to come off mute and to talk more about it, but that's my initial response.
Yeah, I just think especially on my end, having done workshops in like the first initial months, and really felt like a really good energy in those meetings with the community and people discussing and kind of coming together on different projects and research prompts. So yeah, just for me, I would just love to continue to see that, be continue to grow in different ways so that people still can engage and we can surface some good ideas, as well as getting feedback for the current proposals and the mechanisms, being instituted.
There's more questions in the Slido, but I don't know that we're going to have time to get into all of them. Would love to just break into a dialogue from here. So if people want to come off mute and talk, then they're welcome to, or raise your hand if multiple people are trying to talk at once. We got 2 more minutes, and yeah, I'm curious to see what else is on everyone's mind. Current course and speed will go back to the Telegram, and we'll talk again in a month. Go ahead, Monty.
Feel free to divert this question if it's going to be addressed tomorrow, but or is still kind of pending. But I'm just curious if there's any thoughts that you currently have on how Grant Stack will or will not evolve. Like, are you like potentially looking for other development teams that might take it on, or will the stack just die? Or obviously, like a lot of community rounds kind of use Grant Stack, and so yeah, just curious to get like thoughts on that. And also been speaking with Cello PG and Collectivo Labs and Karma Gap, and there obviously are talented development teams that might be interested in doing something with Grant Stack. So just curious if there's any thoughts on.
Rita, I know that you've been taking a look at this. I think so have I. My feeling is that we may want to declare bankruptcy on Grant Stack. I think Gitcoin put millions of dollars into it, and I think that it kind of got to a place where it was QF first and it wasn't well optimized for the multi-mechanism future. And so as a Gitcoin steward, my recommendation to Gitcoin is to build an alternative development stack that's simpler and more forkable for exploring a multi-mechanism design space. And I'm hopeful that one or more teams will emerge to facilitate that between now and GG24. So, Monty, if you've got other development teams that are interested in supporting there and maybe building a new capital allocation QF tool, then happy to connect.
Hey, yeah, I got to drop soon, but I just want to put it out there. This is pretty interesting, and we at Sylvia are very interested in sort of exploring synergies here for ecological funding allocation. I think a combination of cookie jar for tree-related research, maybe working closely with Monty on sort of the quantitative metrics regarding tree impact, for instance, and also we'll reach out to a whale as well to explore some of the pool sharing mechanisms. But yeah, I don't necessarily have clarity exactly in the short run how this will work, but I just wanted to state interest in that capacity. And yeah, I will be exploring collaborations and synergies.
I personally feel like this is a very abstract design space that's going to be very big one day. And I don't feel total clarity either, but my next best thing to do is just to lean into my relationship with the people who are building it and to try to cohere together. And so Allo.Capital is hopefully a shelling point for that. But we'll iterate towards more clarity and coherence with these monthly calls and our exploration of the design space. Go ahead, Scott.
One thing that I'd love to see here, and I think that we're hearing different expressions of a desire for, right, is just to kind of distribute the engagement and create an invitation for everybody to surface more of the different things they're working on, and specifically when it comes to what types of help they might like to have, right? So it'd be really cool in future calls for us to be able to name new, research raids or build raids or something like, hey, I'm really interested in creating a distributed exchange for these kinds of things, and I'm interested in having a team that would be down the clown with me for a little bit, just some space to be like, this is the kind of thing that I'm into right now, and if other people are interested, then come on down and let's fuck around and find out.
I like that energy. More questions, more comments.
Yeah, I just want to say that for Scott, that I can see these groups starting. Like we can use the cookie jar And this timeline, I defined it to create these groups. And I already have a community signaling on the proposals we can receive. I can see a lot of proposals in different directions, like it's a big scope. So I think having this community engagement on that to help the site will end 6 weeks of life cycle. I think this will have we will have a lot to iterate.
Anything else people want to discuss?
Maybe for me, just getting pinged, ping me on Telegram, and any questions you guys have, or I'm happy to spend time stepping people through stuff. And then also on, with Koi and Paul who's left, like just I need to be a little bit handheld as well into the stuff you guys are doing. Get a better sense of it. Even you, Monty, I just, it's like I see the screens, I need to click buttons. I don't know which order to click them in. But once I've done it once or twice, it's okay. So I think we're all in that situation with all of these little, slightly weird UX platform things. Yeah, good to be here.
I just want to say that, like, everything that we presented today, I agree that there's slightly I don't want to say weird UX, but I think that the juice is worth the squeeze. Everything that we selected here is designed to meet, like, once you get over the hump and you start thinking in these ways, it's really powerful. So I would love it if we all rallied and leaned in, and Will, to the extent that you're available to answer questions and to lead people through the UX, I think that'll get the commitments flowing.
Well, I had a question. If I have multiple things to offer, do I create multiple vouchers, or do I create just one for me that it's good for everything that I offer? What do you think?
I would just make one that's a general gift card. So it's worth $1 worth of your products, and you can list multiple products on the voucher. So play around with that. I would just start with that.
And by the way, I love what you're doing. I'm gonna definitely use Serapho or 4-cup Serapho for the circular economic stuff that we're building in Toronto.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, and we have a dev team to help you guys fork that stuff as well too. I mean, we're actively looking for more for that than Serapho usage.
Yeah, and I'll be over there in a couple of weeks hanging out with Kaz and Hinal and the gang.
Sounds good. Anyone else coming to Toronto? Anyone else coming in the second week of May? We're doing a consensus event. We think it's too corporate, so we're going to try putting together a region side event, a region stage. If you're coming, then hit me up. We'll see if we can put you on stage or get your ticket, come in. Well, tickets are going to be free, so I'll just get you pointed in the right direction. And get an Allo.Capital NFT. Go vote. Vote in the Coherence. Would love your support too. I'm behind the fund loop proposal, but tons of other good proposals there. Go vote. Go vote, everyone.
Thanks so much for showing up. I know that this is still sort of like the primordial soup, and it can feel chaotic, but this is the frontier, and I just appreciate that you all sort of share this vision with me and are helping to build it. And now we're starting to cohere using capital allocation mechanisms to explore this design space together. So it feels like we're on the verge of something really interesting, and I just appreciate you all showing up and being at the dance with me, even though it's not exactly clear what we're doing all the time yet. There will be another one of these in a month. If you have any feedback on it, let me know, and I'll see you all on Telegram. Peace and love.